Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I've never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad, back with you. Better Off Dead NFL Week 8 edition. Coming off another winning day on the show, man. I don't even know how it happened, but it happened. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of the late games right, man. So, removing the headphones again. Let's fucking do this. Just using it for the audio check now. Unencumbered, baby. We're free. Let's go. All right. Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe I'll talk about it more tomorrow morning. I don't know if I want to go through the whole rundown of what happened here on this show, because this is going to be a long show, obviously, although less long than usual because we have like 6 teams on bye here. On bye here. But we did not do well in college football. I will save the rant for that for tomorrow morning's show. Let's get into the NFL, man. We're already 1-0 in the NFL this week. I'm going to add 2 more plays for the Sunday card. I really, really hate this board, dude. So I'm going to give you my opinions like I usually do. I'm going to go through like the final market read tomorrow morning as well, just to see if anything changed, because I might have changing opinions on some of these games, and some of these games are just so hard to read. But I do have 2 strong enough opinions that I think I will give them out as plays. To track the buys here, we are going to have 2 teams coming out of a bye into this week. So Buffalo and Baltimore are those 2 teams. We also have 6 teams on bye this week. So we do have only 13 games this week, I think, and one of them already happened. We're already 1-0 this week with the Chargers with an easy win on Thursday. Lions, Raiders, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, and Jaguars all on bye this week. Of course, Rams and Jaguars are on a bye coming back from London. Rest of these other teams that I mentioned are also all on bye this week. So we're going to have a shorter board here to work with, man. Jets, Bengals, you better believe that's going to be one of my plays because you know me, man. Oh, ugliest game of the week, perhaps? Yeah, I'm going to have a play on that one. Of course I am. That's in the 1 p.m. slate. We don't have any London games anymore. Yes. No Europe games. Yes. Hopefully they're done for the season. Hopefully they're done permanently. And we only have 1 Monday night game this week, too. Yes. Back to tradition. Return to tradition. So much better, man. So much better. Except that we don't have as many spots that I like. 49ers and Texans. I do have an opinion on this one. This opinion is not going to change. How close is this to being a play for me? Pretty close. I like the Texans in this game. Texans are sitting as a 2-point favorite. They haven't really moved. Public is all over the 49ers. 73% of tickets, only 65% of the cash on the Niners. So they're a public road underdog here. And, I talk about this. I like to fade the public just generally because I think that's how you find value. Because the books, especially in the NFL, have to at least skew the number a little bit towards that public side there. And in a case like this, when you're getting an anti-public favorite, you're actually kind of, that you're actually getting like a decent team, like a competitive team. And yes, I do think the Texans are actually a decent team, mostly because their defense is pretty good. San Francisco This is a spot where you have a team like San Francisco that looked really good in a primetime game, and that was a winner for me last week. That was the only winner I gave out. I was 1-2. Not a good week for me in the NFL last week. San Francisco came through for us in the Sunday night game. It was a bad spot for Atlanta. I think Penix got hurt in the game, which I'll talk about when we talk about Atlanta. But San Francisco looked good in primetime, man. They held that Atlanta team down. San Francisco was actually kind of an anti-public team in that one because everybody was hyped up about Atlanta because Atlanta had beaten Buffalo on Monday night the week before that. So the public just, they shift opinions. You want to shift your opinion like to counter the public, basically. So Atlanta was actually public because they had upset Buffalo. Everybody loved them. Everybody saw them do it in primetime. I was like, nah, we're going to get San Francisco bouncing back nicely in this one after San Francisco had lost, I believe, that week to Tampa Bay. And yep, San Francisco showed up. Defense really showed up in the game for San Francisco. But now they have to travel again back out on the road. And this is going to be a third road game in 4 weeks for San Francisco. That's not easy, dude. Granted, one of them was Thursday night at LA, so they stayed in California for that one, and they had extra time off. But then they did have to go to the East Coast, lost to Tampa Bay, flew all the way back cross country to play that late night game. They beat Atlanta, which tough spot for an East Coast team to have to go west, as I always talk about. The East Coast teams having to play in the Pacific time zone late night, not an easy spot. Then San Francisco now has to fly back out, and they have to go to Houston, and they're actually going to be on the East Coast again next week against the Giants. San Francisco, difficult part of their schedule here. They're traveling all over the place here, man. The one, I think, good thing for San Francisco is that Brock Purdy is not coming back. So if he was going to come back, I think that would be like a chemistry shift, and I think it would be a bit of a negative, kind of a reverse injured player spot. But in this case, I'm not even sure that he's the better quarterback. Mac Jones has been doing fairly well, man. So I think just San Francisco, they're just a well-coached team. Very good defensive coordinator with Saleh there. Their coach, Kyle Shanahan, maybe the best coach in the league, doing what he's doing here at 5-2 with like just an extremely injured team. But I think with all this travel, with a kind of depleted team here, I think it's going to be a problem coming into this one. Yes, they did get Kittle back last week, but I think they're still without Pearsall, so they're still a little bit thin at wide receiver. McCaffrey did finally break out and have a good game for once, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it against Houston because, again, Houston, the one thing that they do well is play defense. And I think they might be able to slow this San Francisco offense down more than some of these other teams have been able to. Not that San Francisco's offense was really even that good last week against Atlanta. McCaffrey was able to run the ball, and they were able to maintain possession of the ball at the very least. But San Francisco also injured on defense as they lost Warner going into that game last week. He's their defensive captain. He's out. I think they're still without Bosa as well. So definitely some injury concerns for San Francisco. They're coming out and they're about to face Houston, who looked really bad on primetime. And yes, it's a shorter week for Houston because Houston played on Monday night. They played in the late night game on the Pacific Coast. So they're actually going from the Pacific Coast from Seattle back home as well. So that's kind of my hesitation with this is just I don't love that Houston's on the shorter week. And the other thing I don't love is that Houston actually won the turnover battle against Seattle, and they still lost the game. Houston actually won the turnover battle 4-1. So it's pretty bad that they still lost the game by 8 points. Like when you have a turnover margin like that, when you're +3 in turnovers, and they didn't even lose the yardage battle by that much. They only lost it by whatever that is, 60 yards. So there's not much of an excuse for them to lose this game by 8 still, so they didn't capitalize on the turnovers. Couple of concerns with Houston just for those reasons. But I do think they're going to show up for this game. It's a Monday night game against the 49ers. It's going to be throwing off the public, the fact that the Niners are 5-2 and Houston's only 2-4. The public is going to want nothing to do with Houston for that reason. They're going to think there's value getting, San Francisco, the team that looked better in primetime than Houston did last week, the team that has a better record, and you're giving me them as an underdog? What is that? Yeah, it looks way too easy to take San Francisco as the underdog, so I would not do it. Houston, I mean, they've also been competitive this entire season. Like, every one of their losses was by one score. Their loss that was by the biggest margin was that 8-point loss against Seattle. They haven't lost by more than that in any game this season. So Houston, I mean, they've not played badly. Their defense is keeping them in games. It's just that their offense is really struggling right now. They have a ton of offensive injuries, very depleted offense. And Stroud, I mean, the league has figured Stroud out. He's just not as good as he looked like he was in his rookie season. But all that being said, I like the Texans in that game. Not going to be a play for me, but that one is closer to being a play for me. Too long of a handicap on that one, probably. Bears, Ravens is going to be my other play. I'll leave that for the end of the show. Dolphins, Falcons also at 1 p.m. here. Falcons are up from a 6-point favorite to a 7-point favorite. They're public, 92% of the tickets, but 93% of the cash. So it looks like some of the money is joining the public on the Falcons here. I have some hesitations, man. This is a game where I don't really have a strong opinion on the side. I don't know which way I actually want to go in like my pick 'em yet, where I have to pick every single game. Normally, I would say you actually probably want to look to taking the points with the Falcons just because Atlanta, I mean, they're traveling cross country, which is not really that easy to do. We saw them play Sunday night. They lost a little bit of a win streak there. They're having to cross the country twice because they beat Buffalo at home, primetime game. They had to play another primetime game against San Francisco out on the Pacific Coast. Now they're flying all the way back east, so that's not that easy to do. And Miami just got annihilated last week against the Browns, which is going to make Miami look even worse. Not that Miami looks good anyway, but they had at least basically been in every single one of their losses except for their season opener against Indianapolis, where they got pretty much blown out. They had a bad turnover margin in that one. But now they got blown out by the Browns. So people are just going to be, nobody's going to be taking nobody's going to be taking the Dolphins after this. But if you look at what happened in this game, I know they lost 31-6, but the Dolphins actually outgained the Browns in this game. Even though they only had 219 yards, both teams were in the low 200s yardage-wise. The Dolphins were -4 in turnovers. But looking at this final score, you would think that Cleveland absolutely destroyed them, but that was not the case. So this is a very misleading result. So I actually do think the Dolphins maybe are not quite as bad as they look. But the problem that I have, yes, I probably still lean to taking the points with the Dolphins. I mean, the Falcons are just too public. I think the spot does set up a little bit better to maybe get some value with the Dolphins at plus the touchdown. But the problem is Atlanta is in an injured player spot here, as I was alluding to when I just talked about the Niners against the Falcons last week. Penix got hurt, so he's not playing in this game. So that means Atlanta is going to go to Kirk Cousins, and it hasn't really affected the line. So I talk about the injured player spot where when a starting quarterback goes down, a lot of times the line will drop on that team. So you get a little bit of extra value on that team, and the team will become extra motivated, right? And they'll step up because they know, oh crap, we lost our quarterback. Now we have to play harder. And to an extent, I do think the Falcons are going to have that aspect of this, even though the line hasn't moved. Because the odds makers are basically telling you it's not a downgrade from Penix to Kirk Cousins. And I agree that it's not really a downgrade. I don't think it really matters necessarily which quarterback is in there. Cousins, he knows what he's doing out there, man. He's a veteran. He's been in the NFL for a long time. He's been in the playoffs before. He knows the deal. He knows the drill. He's not unfamiliar with this at all. I think he's going to be actually really excited to get back out there, to be honest. And he's a guy that gets respect from his teammates. So I think his teammates are going to be pumped to play with him as well. I think the Falcons are going to an extent, be kind of angry because they looked really bad in primetime last Sunday night. So I think they will want to play better for that reason too. So you can see why I'm struggling to figure out what I would want to do with this game, which is obviously I'm not going to give out a play. I'm leaving this game alone. I'm considering the Falcons in Survivor though, because they don't have that much future value. So maybe there'll be some value there. And for people that think Kirk Cousins is bad because of what they saw last year, watch the Netflix quarterback documentary. You'll see what really happened with that. Cousins, he was playing injured, man. He was massively injured. He had an injured shoulder, an injured leg. He just couldn't even get out there and do anything, man. So we actually have a healthy Kirk Cousins now coming out here. So I think the Cousins that you see tomorrow is not going to be the Cousins that you saw when they finally switched to Penix last year. Cousins, he was literally on one leg and couldn't even throw the ball. And I'm assuming he's healthy now, so I think he's going to be okay, and he's going to be back out there. And you could see how sad Kirk Cousins was that he wasn't playing anymore too. I think he's going to want to seize this opportunity, man, because he basically was when you watch that documentary, he's I'm not done yet. I was kind of rooting for him to go somewhere else. It would be awesome if he went to Minnesota because they don't have a fucking quarterback in Minnesota, so they could really use Kirk Cousins back there right now. he could be their starter, and they could be a playoff team potentially if he was. But I think he's going to try to make the most of this opportunity, man. Because if you go out there and you do well, it's possible that, I doubt that he's going to keep the starting job because they drafted Penix for a reason, but you never know. So I think he's going to be extra motivated to get out there, though. So there are some reasons to kind of like the Falcons here as well. So, I slightly lean to fading the public with Miami, but that's a very, very difficult read in that game. Mojave Wanderer, what's up, man? Cowboys and Steelers in a two-leg parlay. I actually disagree with both of those sides, which I don't have a strong opinion necessarily on the Cowboys Broncos game. I like Green Bay quite a bit in the night game, which I'm going to talk about when I get to those games. So if you stick around, you can see what my thoughts are on it. But yeah, I don't have like strong opinions necessarily on those two games though. Nate, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. All right, where are we going next? Bills Panthers. Bills very public, but it looks like the cash is also joining the public on the Bills here. They're 7-point road favorite. Money is coming in on the 7, it looks like, as it's getting close to 7.5 here. 91% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on the Bills. Again, this is one of those spots where my default reaction is like I want to fade the public here, and I would want to lean towards taking the points with the Panthers, but the Bills are coming out of a bye, and I think that bye came at a good time for the Bills because they went into the bye on a really bad note. They lost 2 games in a row. They lost to New England as a favorite in that primetime game where it was like New England's coming out party. And then they followed it up with a loss at Atlanta. And I pointed out I liked Atlanta quite a bit in that one. I didn't make it a play. Kind of mad that I didn't. But Buffalo went into the bye on that note. So you know they're going to be getting drilled. They're going to be fixing some things in that bye. Like the best time for a bye to come up is when you're on a losing streak because that bye can like end that losing streak right away. And then you come out and you play better after that bye. So that is a positive for Buffalo. There is a negative here, though, which is that their next opponent is the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know Buffalo has that game circled because guess what? The Chiefs are the team that eliminated Buffalo from the playoffs again last year. So Buffalo, they're going to want revenge against Kansas City. Obviously, that is a huge game for them. So the question is, are they going to be looking ahead? I don't know. I would put more weight into the bye being a positive. I think that what happened before the game matters more than like what might happen in the future, right? Because what happens in the future is only a mental thing. You just have to avoid getting distracted by that look ahead. But what happened in the past, it already did whatever it did to you. And in this case, I think they had a positive week off to try to fix things. So I actually, as ridiculous as it might sound, I'm actually kind of slightly leaning towards Buffalo in this one right now. Although Carolina's coming off a real ugly game against the Jets. But here's the other thing about Carolina. Bryce Young has been doing so bad that Carolina is actually switching to Andy Dalton in this game. And it hasn't really affected the line. So the odds makers are basically like, we don't fucking know, man. Like either of these quarterbacks doesn't really matter. So the Ginger, what's his nickname? The Red Rocket? He's coming back, baby. Or is that Cooper Rush? Is Rush the Red Rocket? I don't know, man. It should be Dalton. Dalton's coming back in this one. He's a veteran. He's been around for a long time, so he's not going to be intimidated by this or anything like that. It might actually be an upgrade. And the thing that might help out with Carolina is Buffalo might have a little bit more of a difficult time preparing for that because they probably spent the whole week preparing for Bryce Young, and now they have to prepare for Andy Dalton on the fly. Although I know Andy Dalton's old. Like, he doesn't really have an added dimension to his game at this point. He's a pocket passer, and that's basically it. And you saw what Carolina did with him last year. So Buffalo could probably still whip up something for that. Again, like, these games are so difficult to read, dude. Like, I don't even know what I want to do with these. Like, do I want to really, like, pick Buffalo laying the points in my pick'em league when I usually will, like, fade the public? I don't know, man. I still don't know what I want to do with this one. I could see arguments for both sides in this one, too. Carolina is coming off that really ugly win over the Jets, which people were going to put no weight into that at all. Although I thought it was a bad spot for Carolina because they were coming off that big win over Dallas. But the Jets were coming back from London. So, I guess I have to take it back about the teams returning from London, the teams that say, no, we don't want to take the bye, we want to play immediately, because they've been really bad. They're 0-3 against the spread this year, so that's not good. Every redhead not named Carrot Top is called the Red Rocket. Okay, yeah, and it's also every dog dick is called the Red Rocket. Giants, Eagles, I got a hard time with this one too, man, because the Eagles are public. 74% of tickets, only 73% of the cash. Eagles down from 8 to 7 here. But, I mean, we remember what happened 2 weeks ago, right? The Eagles played at the Giants. The Giants had that ridiculous win, crazy win, which I was correct about on the show, although I didn't give it out as a play. Giants pulled off the upset in that one. Remember what the line was in that game, though? The line was Eagles minus 7.5 in that game at the Giants. And now you're telling me that the Eagles are a smaller favorite than that at home? Like, does that line make any sense? Like, yeah, I mean, definitely you could argue that the Eagles should not have been a 7.5 point favorite at the New York Giants in that game. But if you give each team like 1.5, like the minimal amount of home field, this line should at least be 10. And then, yeah, you got to deal with the fact that A.J. Brown is going to be out in this game for the Eagles. But if you've watched the Eagles, he looked hurt anyway, so I don't even think that's going to downgrade the Eagles at all. So I think there is line value on the Eagles in this game. This line, I think, is just too short. Again, even if you think that the Eagles should have been less of a favorite in that game against the Giants, I think this line still should be higher than a touchdown here in this one. The Giants are also coming off that brutal game last week where they had to go to elevation. I mean, this is a difficult schedule for the Giants right now, man. If you look what they did recently, they've got that win in Jackson Dart's debut against the Chargers, which that was one of my plays on the show. We got that right. Then I gave out New Orleans the following week, and that was another correct play on the show. They had to go to New Orleans, letdown spot. They lost the game. They were looking ahead to a Thursday night game against Philly as well. They pulled off the huge win against Philly. Then they had to go out on the road again, out into elevation. I gave out Denver on the show. I thought it was a bad spot for the Giants. I thought it was a major letdown spot. They had this Eagles game again up next. Denver, though, they were coming back from London, and Denver just started really slow in that game. Denver, it took a miracle for them to win that game. But the thing is, the Giants, I think they're going to be maybe a little bit crushed. Like, that was kind of a spirit-crushing loss, man, I think, for how the Giants lost that game. They were winning 19-0 in the fourth quarter of that game. They were still winning, I think, 26-8 or something like that with not much time left in the game. With, like, maybe 8 minutes to go, maybe less, and they wind up giving up 33 points in the fourth quarter and losing the game 33-32. And the Giants also missed 2 extra points in the game because they don't have a kicker, which, by the way, their kicker right now looks like it's Graham Gano, but I don't know if he's actually going to be ready to play in this game. So just another thing to keep in mind here. It's all just craziness, but I think that was a really deflating loss. And you know that because Philadelphia just lost to the Giants, you know that Philadelphia is not going to overlook them this time. So I actually do lean to the Eagles in this game. Philly coming off a good win against Minnesota, but, I mean, Minnesota, they just don't look very good right now. So I don't think that Philadelphia is going to be like in a letdown spot after that or anything like that. They're going into a bye after this. So they do have Green Bay and Detroit coming up after this, and those are huge games. They're both primetime games, but I don't know if it's really going to be a look ahead because they do have the bye. They're going to remember what the Giants just did to them, man. And this is a quick revenge spot. So you know the Eagles are going to be the team that has the adjustments to make because now they've seen what the Giants did. This is going to be the first time that a team faces the Jackson Dart Giant offense for the second time. And I think they're going to do a little bit better facing him the second time, would be my opinion, even though I don't think the Eagles' defense is really that good. I do think the Eagles are overrated this year, but in this spot, I would lean to the Eagles in this game. So that one I have a stronger opinion slightly towards the favorite than I do with the Bills and the Falcons, but I have to figure it out before I make these picks tomorrow, but they're not going to be plays for me, so very, very difficult to figure these games out. We have yet another touchdown favorite in Browns-Patriots. This game is a pretty low total. It's gone up a little bit from 40.5 to 41, but we're expected to see some defense in this game, especially because the Browns are actually a legit defense. 82% of tickets, only 79% of the cash on the Patriots. So the Patriots are obviously the hype right now. The public is on the Patriot train because the Patriots keep winning. I would probably lean to taking the points with the Browns in this one though, because they're the better defense getting points. So that's just kind of my default. I know the Browns looked better than they actually were last week because Miami turned it over a ton and the Browns offense did absolutely nothing. But that's a confidence boosting win at the very least because the Browns had lost 3 games in a row. So I think the Browns will at least have some confidence coming into this game and show up for this game at least. New England, I think they're a little bit overrated right now. Yes, they're 5-2. They're ahead of Buffalo in the AFC East right now. But what have they done outside of winning against Buffalo? They pulled off that upset, which if one play went different here and there, they would have lost that game. Their other wins are against Miami, Carolina, which was a misleading result, by the way, or Carolina had a lot of turnovers, New Orleans, and then Tennessee. And Tennessee compounded their mistakes with a lot of turnovers too. So the Patriots have no impressive wins besides the Buffalo one. So they faced a really, really weak schedule so far. So I'm still not completely sold on the Patriots. I mean, yes, they're the second best team in their division. I don't think they're better than the Bills. I think at some point they're going to regress to some extent as teams also kind of start figuring out what the Patriots are doing with this Drake May offense, even though I do think he is pretty good. But I would lean to the Cleveland defense in that one and take the points with Cleveland. Bucks, Saints, this is going to be one where I'm not going to change my opinion on. The Bucks are a 3.5-point favorite. I don't think they were ever a 6-point underdog. I don't know what the hell that is. 82% of the tickets, only 78% of the cash on Tampa. They're a very public road favorite. And you know me, dude, I'm leaning against Tampa every single week. I mean, that's just the way that it is because they had 4 of their 5 wins. They were losing the game in the final, minute 8 of the game. So they could easily be like a below 500 team if those games went slightly differently. Their only really convincing win was against San Francisco, and San Francisco was in a bad spot. Good win, but still bad spot. And maybe we're seeing Tampa get a little bit exposed because they did lose pretty badly on Monday night, and their offense did absolutely nothing against Detroit. They lost 24-9 in that game against Detroit. But Tampa is a team that looked bad on Monday night, so you could argue that maybe that means they're going to be a little bit undervalued, perhaps, because everybody saw them look bad on Monday night. But I don't think they're going to be undervalued when their opponent is the 1-win New Orleans Saints. I mean, you're pretty much always going to get value on the Saints against a 5-2 Tampa Bay team that right now still looks better than they actually are. Tampa, you know that that's the case because Tampa's still very public, obviously. So I still lean to taking the points with New Orleans. You know New Orleans is going to get up for this game because it is a big divisional game. You know New Orleans is going to try to play tough in this one. Tampa, they are coming off they are on a short week at the very least, and still a tough loss. You get up emotionally for a game against Detroit on Monday night. They lost the game. They're going to have a bye after this, and then New England and Buffalo, though those are out-of-conference games. But I do think it sets up a little bit better for New Orleans, and New Orleans has at least been pretty competitive in basically all their losses. They've lost by 7-5. Their only blowout loss was to Seattle, and that was because of, I think, some turnovers, and the yardage battle was not much of a difference in that game. Seattle did not outgain them by much in that one. New Orleans hung to within 12 at Buffalo. They only lost by 6 to New England, and then last week they lost by 12 to the Bears, which was one of my losses on the show. But if you look at what happened in this game, New Orleans lost the turnover battle 4-1, -3 in turnovers. Yes, the Bears did outgain them, but when you lose the turnover battle 4-1 and you only lose by 12, that's kind of saying something. I mean, it does say that the Bears didn't capitalize on those mistakes, but I still think New Orleans, they're playing tough in every one of these games, so they're a decent underdog. And it's a divisional home underdog in this case. I think that is the way to look in that one. Anti-public as well. Not a play for me, though. I don't really have a situation to really rely on there. Dallas at Denver. So if Mojave is still here, we're going to talk about this game now. The money is actually somewhat agreeing with him right now as the Broncos. I don't know when they were ever a 5-point favorite, but they're a 3.5-point favorite right now. 65% of the tickets, 69% of the cash coming in on the Cowboys side. This total is insanely high, and I don't see this going over this total. The total's up from 47 to 51, and it's basically because the Cowboys' defense is absolute ass. The Cowboys have one of the worst defenses in all of football, and they did just lose who was it? The Cowboys lost one of their cornerbacks. I think Diggs, I want to say. So the Cowboys, I mean, they're just massively depleted on defense. Yeah, their offense looks good, but if you like the Broncos in this game, and I do kind of lean that way, I think it's going to be an under type of game. 86% of the tickets, only 82% of the cash on the over. We also saw the Broncos score 33 points in one quarter last week, and we saw the Cowboys score over 40. So the public is going to be all over the over in this one. I don't agree with that. I would lean to the under in this game, especially when you get under the key number of 51. And I think under is correlated to the Broncos, because if it's going to be a low-scoring game, that means the Broncos' defense is checking the Cowboys' offense. Yes, the Broncos should be able to put up some points against this really bad Cowboy defense as well. Nix hasn't been very good in his sophomore year, but this is a defense that he should do well against. And also, the Broncos scoring 33 points in one quarter, pretty misleading, because they scored 0 in the first 3 quarters in that game against a Giant defense that isn't really that good. So I don't know. But I do lean to the Broncos as well. They're a 3.5-point favorite right now. I think I already mentioned that and mentioned where the money's coming in. It's slightly on Dallas right now, but I don't agree with it really. Dallas, they're coming off a really huge divisional win, dude. Beating Washington, and Jaden Daniels got hurt in the middle of that game as well. But Dallas, huge win for them, man. Beating Washington, that's a huge divisional win for Dallas. I think they could be in a little bit of a letdown spot after that. Now they have to play a third game in 4 weeks on the road. They're actually playing a 4th game in 6 weeks on the road. They've been all over the place, dude. Those games being in Chicago, in New York, Carolina. Now they have to go to Elevation to Denver. So this is a spot where I think the travel might be catching up to Dallas. Again, 3 road games in 4 weeks is not a great spot for any NFL team. Plus, it's the letdown spot. Denver, I think they might be better. Just like I said with the Chargers, having a second game in a row back home. So the Chargers, after traveling all over the place, the Chargers got to stay at home for once. That's what Denver's doing here, because Denver had to go to Philadelphia, and then they went to London. They came back home. Now they're back home for another week. I think it sets up better for Denver here, man. And Denver almost lost that game as a favorite. I think Denver knows they escaped that game, man. I know it was a hard-fought game, but I think that game's going to hang the Giants over more than it does to Denver, because I think Denver was just expected to win that game, and they almost didn't. So I think Denver's going to realize we escaped in that game, man. And it's the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Denver's going to show up for a game against Dallas. Dallas, for them, it's also one of the least meaningful games on their schedule, because it's a road out-of-conference game, and I know they already did that, and they did beat the Jets in one of those games, but even so, Denver is better than the Jets, obviously, and yeah, Dallas, again, road out-of-conference game. It's the game that means the least on your schedule, because it has almost no effect on the tiebreaker at the end of the season. Sorry, my mind is just out of it right now because it's late. Yeah, I lean to Denver in that one. I don't think I'm going to wind up changing my opinion on that one, to be honest. I think I'm going to probably wind up with Denver in the pick'ems, but it's not going to be a play for me. And yeah, Javonte Williams revenge game. I don't know how much weight to put into that, really. So he's Dallas's running back now, right? And he was formerly on Denver. I don't even know, who the fuck does Denver even have as their running back now? I don't even know. I know they have R.J. Harvey in the mix there, but who else do they have? Oh, yeah, Dobbins, that's right. The other initial guy, J.K., not J.K. Simmons, the actor. Whiplash, good movie, by the way. But yeah, J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, yeah, there. All right, Tennessee at Indianapolis. Wait, is that the next game? Yes, it is. Oh, I skipped over it. Sorry, I went over to the schedule rather than going down the board. Sorry, but whatever. Tennessee and Indianapolis. Indianapolis is the largest favorite on the board this week. They're up from 12 to 14.5 here in this one. 92% of the tickets, 94% of the cash coming in on the Colts. They're public right now. The money's also coming in on the Colts, but I'm not going to agree with that. I would not lay the double digits with the Colts. Everybody is, I think, too high on the Colts. I mean, they're my team, but what have the Colts really done? I mean, their impressive wins are the ones against well, really, their only impressive win was the one last week at L.A., which I thought they were going to lose that game, but I guess I was wrong about the uniforms. L.A., apparently they didn't feel good in those yellow uniforms, and they lost the game. They didn't play a good game. If you look at what happened in this game, though, which I think I pointed out when I handicapped the Chargers, and I went with the Chargers this week. The Chargers actually outgained Indy in this game, but the Chargers were -2 in turnovers, and that was part of the reason why they lost the game. So the game was not exactly what it appeared to be on the scoreboard, and that's Indy's best game of the season. I mean, look at what Indy's wins are. They beat Miami, Tennessee, Raiders, Arizona with a backup quarterback, although I think Brissett is actually better than Kyler Murray. And Indianapolis came close to losing that game. And yes, they had a win against Denver. Denver's a good team, but Indianapolis got lucky at the end of that on that leverage call to get the re-kick there. So Indianapolis, they faced a really weak schedule so far. And they already went into Tennessee and beat them by 21 in Tennessee. So this is, I think, the first instance of this year. This is a divisional road revenge angle. It works out more often than it does not. So this is something I talk about once we get into the later part of the NFL season. When you have a second of the two divisional matchups and the road team won the first one, you want to look towards the road. I mean, you don't tend to. Like, the public's going to tend to want to be on the Colts in this one. But from a handicapping perspective, what you actually want to do is you want to look towards the road team, because that team already lost to this team in their own house, so they're going to want to repay the favor, and you're usually getting them as an underdog. That is the case here. Yes, I know Tennessee is probably the worst team in football, but they're getting a ton of points here, man. And it's a spot where maybe Indy just looks right past them. I mean, Indy's coming off a big win over the Chargers. They got a winning opponent next in Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, and again, Indy already easily beat Tennessee on the road once. So I think Indy might just look right past Tennessee in this one. I would lean to Tennessee plus all those points in that one if I was really going to play that one, which I'm not. Sunday night. We're already at the Sunday night, man. I love these short weeks. You can get in and get out. Just like we'll get in and get out. Just like you're either you're fucking a hooker, or like the Colts are going to do with that game against the Titans. Sunday night is a big game. This is the Aaron Rodgers Bowl. It is the Packers against the Steelers. It is the first time Aaron Rodgers is playing against the Packers in his entire career, because, of course, he spent almost his entire career with the Packers. He is saying he's going to retire as a Packer, which obviously makes sense. So I don't think he really has any animosity towards the Packers, I think he basically knew it was time to cede to Jordan Love. I talked about this last week, maybe. He didn't want to do what Brett Favre did to him and keep sticking around there, and the team basically had to be like, nah, see you, Brett. We have to go with Aaron now. Aaron Rodgers didn't want to do that, so Aaron Rodgers actually took Jordan Love under his wing more than Favre did with Rodgers. And again, you can see that on the Netflix Rodgers documentary, how that all played out a bit as well. So I don't think there's really any animosity here with Rodgers against the Packers. It seemed like he did have animosity against the Jets, which I didn't even think that was the case, but apparently it was. But I don't think he has animosity against the Packers, man. Is he going to want to show up and play well? Yeah, he is. But looking at this line, man, the Packers, they're a 3-point road favorite here. And I think the public's going to look at this and think, well, wait a minute. Both these teams are good, right? Green Bay's 4-1-1 because they had that tie against Dallas. Pittsburgh's 4-2. And you're giving me points at home with Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is the guy in this game. The talk is just all about Aaron Rodgers. So I think the public's going to want to take Aaron Rodgers plus the points. 63% of the tickets are on the Steelers. 61% of the cash, though, on the Packers. The odds makers are telling you who the better team is here, and I agree. I think the Packers are the better team all around, to be honest. I actually think the Packers have a better offense and better defense. The Steelers, I know people have this image of them as this punishing defense, but that hasn't really been the case this year. They gave up a lot of points to the Jets. They gave up over 30 points to the Jets, which is not good against a Justin Fields offense. The Steelers kind of held New England down on the scoreboard, but the Steelers, they only won that game because New England turned the ball over 5 times or something like that. And then Pittsburgh, look at the offenses that they face. They faced a ton of weak offenses, and the only offense they faced that isn't that weak was Seattle, and they give up 31 points to Seattle. Other than that, they faced a Carson Wentz Viking offense. That's not a good offense. They faced Cleveland with Dylan Gabriel. Not a good offense. And then they faced Cincinnati last week, and we saw how bad Cincinnati was with Jake Browning. I know this was with Joe Flacco, but still, that Cincinnati offense is not that good. I don't think, with Joe Flacco. And Pittsburgh lost the game and gave up 33 points to them. So I don't think that's a good sign. I actually think Green Bay is the better defense here. Green Bay has faced a more difficult schedule as well. Pittsburgh is also coming off a tough divisional game, man. So I think the spot doesn't set up that well. I know Pittsburgh played on Thursday, so they have extra time off coming into this game. But that was a brutal divisional loss, dude. A game that, there were a lot of emotions flying in that game. It was Rodgers against Flacco. Huge emotional game, which is going to factor into my Cincinnati handicap this week as well. It broke Pittsburgh's 3-game win streak as well. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a hangover spot here, man. That turned out to be a big divisional game, and Cincinnati kind of got back into the mix in the division there, at least for now. And Pittsburgh does have the Colts up next, which is a conference game, which is big as well. Though, yes, this game is going to be big. It's a primetime game. It's the Aaron Rodgers Bowl, as I keep calling it. So they're not going to overlook this game. But they could be a little bit fatigued in this one after that Cincinnati game. Green Bay, they're coming off a really bad performance where they almost lost to Arizona. And Green Bay was a big favorite in that game. And if you remember, I said I leaned to Arizona when all was said and done because Green Bay had a 5-hour flight delay getting out there. And the spot just didn't set up that well for Green Bay. And I thought this was a look ahead as well to this game. So Green Bay, they didn't play well. I think that's going to focus them, man, because Green Bay actually, they haven't played that well in either of these games. They did beat Cincinnati the previous week, so I'm kind of surprised the public isn't looking at that and saying, well, wait a minute, if Green Bay beat Cincinnati, who beat Pittsburgh? Doesn't that mean Green Bay should beat Pittsburgh here? But the public's not doing that. The public's on Rodgers. Green Bay, in my opinion, they just didn't play that well in any of their last 4 games, really, and I think it's going to focus them at some point. They played poorly against Cleveland. That was a win for me on the show. They didn't play very well against Dallas, which was a big game for Dallas in primetime. Green Bay then went into a bye. They came out of the bye with a little bit of a lackluster game against Cincinnati. I think they just didn't care that much about Cincinnati. And then I think they had to deal with the flight delay. I think they didn't care that much about Arizona either. So I do think they're going to show up focused for this one. It's not a third road game in 4 weeks because they did have a bye after those 2 road games. So it is a second straight road game, though, which is still not that easy, but I think the spot does set up a little bit better for Green Bay. That is my lean in that one. My opinion is Green Bay minus the 3 in that one. Justin, what's up, man? How's Missouri? How's living in misery? I don't really want to talk about Missouri right now after what happened I'm going to talk about it tomorrow morning. Hopefully my voice comes back a little bit. My voice is so fucked right now. But we're going to have to talk about it because I lost a play on Missouri today. Monday night is going to be Washington at the Kansas City Chiefs. Looking at this line, the line was going to be 5.5 on the Chiefs, and now it's 11.5. And the reason for that is Jaden Daniels is hurt, so it's going to be Marcus Mariota. But you know what I always say. It's an injured player spot. When a team loses their star quarterback like this, they step up their gameplay, and they're going to step it up anyway because they're playing on Monday night against the Chiefs. So I think you're going to get an effort out of Washington, the Redskins, as I will keep calling them. They're going to step up their game knowing that they have to go into their backup again. I don't think Mariota is actually a 6-point downgrade from Daniels either. I mean, Mariota's a similar style of quarterback. He fits into the system fairly well. He's played numerous games already because, dude, Jaden Daniels keeps getting hurt, man. He might be the next RG3. I've been kind of saying that a little bit. It's been in my head. I mean, we don't really want to say that and jinx him, but as we remember, RG3 was a very similar style of quarterback, like a dual-threat quarterback. He was on the Redskins, and he couldn't stay healthy, and he made 1 playoff appearance. What if the same thing happens to Daniels? I don't know. But it's going to be Mariota in this one. I do think we're getting value on Washington here, a double-digit underdog. I mean, think about that as far as Washington. Like last year, Washington was a playoff team, and now they're a double-digit underdog. I know it's against one of the better teams in the league, the Chiefs, at Arrowhead, but again, I think we've reached the point where Washington's actually being undervalued, even though they were one of the teams that I thought was really overvalued coming into this season. I think the market has gone too far in the other direction. I think the market is too high on the Chiefs now as well, after the Chiefs keep putting up a lot of points, and everybody's now saying, oh my God, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Like, they have a good defense. Yeah, we all know that, but their offense looks really good again this year. Mahomes is killing it for my fantasy team. Yeah, all that is true. And yeah, the Washington doesn't have a good defense. I get it. Chiefs should be able to put up some points in this one, but I don't know how focused the Chiefs are going to be in this one, man. I think you pretty much know you're going to get effort out of Washington, especially after they just had an embarrassing loss last week against Dallas. That was coming off a Monday night loss that everybody saw. I thought they were kind of in a little bit of a primetime sandwich there, too, because they played that Monday night game. They had to go to Dallas, and they had this primetime game against the Chiefs upcoming. It wasn't a play for me, but I was correct on the pick with Dallas in that one. Embarrassing loss for Washington, though. So I think Washington is going to show up in this one for that reason. As far as Kansas City is concerned, Kansas City has played so many primetime games this year, it's like it doesn't even matter anymore. Like, Kansas City, look at how many primetime games they played this year. I mean, we can go through them all. Friday in Brazil against the Chargers, that was one. New York Giants, that was a primetime game Sunday night. And in between that, they had big games against the Eagles and Baltimore. Those were not primetime. Jacksonville was a Monday night game. That was primetime. Detroit was a Sunday night game. That was primetime. So, I mean, Kansas City, they play all these big games, dude. So that's just the deal. Like, this is a game where they might not actually have total focus here. They're coming off a divisional just destruction of the Raiders, and the Raiders have played the Chiefs pretty tough the last couple of years, and they just absolutely wrecked the Raiders there. So I think Kansas City might just kind of sleepwalk through this game, man, against an injured quarterback Washington team. Washington also has a bunch of injured receivers, whatever. And Kansas City does have a big game against Buffalo up next. Then they have a bye. Then they have Denver and Indianapolis. So they have bigger games coming up after this that are conference games. So I would lean to taking the points with Washington in that one. Not giving it out as a play, at least for now. I mean, I'm going to talk about it again Monday morning, I guess, and see if my opinion gets stronger or anything. It probably won't, but I would take the points with Washington in that one. It was definitely rough. I'm going to talk about Missouri tomorrow and hopefully have a better voice. Your nephew on a rare Saturday playing safety. Oh, hell yeah. His last game of the year, 5th grade, he's playing safety on a football team. Hell yeah. I don't even know what level of football that is, but hell yeah, man. I'm only thinking of Little Giants right now. The underrated movie Little Giants with Ed O'Neill from Modern Family. And I think Rick Moranis is in that too, right? From Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and whatever else. Ghostbusters? Is he in Ghostbusters? I can't even remember. I think he is. Is he? No. I'm thinking of Harold Ramis now. I think I'm like some dude with glasses. I don't know. Whatever. All right. Let's go to the plays, man, and then I'll get out of here. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Green Bay. Christian Watson might come back in that game, so that'll be an extra target for he's one of their best wide receivers, so that'll help Jordan Love have another target there if Christian Watson does come back, and it won't really affect the line. Washington, as I was pointing out, which I think I forgot to finish my thought, Washington is a very injured offense, though. They have a lot of injuries to wide receivers right now. I think they're still without McLaurin. They're still without Deebo Samuel. And they're still without Austin Eckler as their running back, too, although they're using another running back tandem that is pretty good with, Krosky, Merritt, and Robinson. Is that his name? Whatever it is. All right, let's get to the plays. This will be the best bets. That was the breakdown. I always forget to put up the graphic, but you guys like it, so there you go. Best bets, and that'll be the end of the show here. You pretty much already know what they're going to be. Well, you know what one of them is, definitely, and it's the ugliest thing around, man. You know what I'm doing. The ugliest way to go, man, is to take the New York Jets yet again, and that's what we're doing here, plus the 6.5. I don't think it's going to get to 7. The Bengals are up from a 2.5-point favorite to a 6.5-point favorite here. Don't really know exactly what caused that move, other than I think maybe the look ahead was 2.5, and now, seriously, just based on the fact that the Jets lost again last week to the Panthers, and the Bengals finally looked good for once and beat the Steelers. Now the lines are like up to 6.5. Like, are you kidding me? There's value on the Jets in this game, man. I'm sorry, but we have to do it again. The Jets, they've covered, I think, 3 spreads this year, though. So the Jets have not been like a team that's just getting obliterated on the number. They covered for us on the show. I gave them out as a play in week 1. They should have won the game outright against the Steelers. So they wound up losing that game, but they covered. They covered for us. I gave them out again against Tampa Bay, and they got the cover there. I did give them out against Buffalo, too, and they lost. So 2-1. I gave them out against. Did I give them out against Dallas? I think I did, and they lost that one. So we were 2-2, and I gave them out against Denver too. So we're 3-2 on the show in Jet games this year, playing the Jets in all of those, and we're doing it again, man. We're going right back to the well. Let's get it done again. We've been on all 3 Jet point spread winners at least, and we've won on the Jets because we're slightly up with the 3-2. So let's do it again here, man. Cincinnati. They're coming off just a huge win, dude. I mean, Cincinnati just looked atrocious with Jake Browning in there. And then all of a sudden, Joe Flacco comes in and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in primetime in front of a home crowd on Thursday. Let's take a little bit of a step back, man. Is Joe Flacco seriously turning this offense around to that degree? I don't really think so. I think you're going to see them be somewhere in the middle. He's better than Browning, sure. He's a very experienced quarterback. He's old, and I'm not going to just all of a sudden say that he's like the second coming or something like that. I think he's a decent quarterback, but I think you're going to see Cincinnati's offense take a little bit of a step back after that game, and that was a huge win, dude. So this is a letdown spot. They finally got a win, and it was that huge game, Flacco versus Rodgers, huge divisional game, primetime. Thursday night, yes, they have extra time off, but when everything worked for you, what are you going to do with that time off? You're just going to kind of bask in that win. I don't think you're really going to focus too much on the Jets here. They don't really have a huge game up next. It's against the Bears. They do have Pittsburgh up again after that, though, although I think they have a bye between those two. But, yeah, I mean, I just think this has letdown written all over it. I think you're getting a lot of value on the Jets in this one. People are going to also say, hey, Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh, who beat the Jets, so that makes it look even easier to take Cincinnati in this one. Public all of a sudden on Cincinnati, man, and the public was completely off of Cincinnati for weeks. So all of a sudden they get one win and now the public is all over the Bengals. Nah. That's a situation like that again when you have the public shifting completely from being against a team to being on that team. That's an overreaction to 1 week too, and you want to fade that overreaction. That's what we're going to do here. 82% of the tickets, only 72% of the cash on the Bengals. They're very public. Less of the actual money is coming in on them. I think we're actually going to get some defense in this one, man. This is a lower scoring game. I think we're going to get defense from the Jets is what I mean to say, because the Bengals defense is ass. They might have the worst defense in football. It's between them and the Cowboys, man. One of those two defenses is the worst. So I think the Jets might be able to score a little bit against the Bengals here. And I think the Jets defense might be able to hold them in this game because they have the better defense. So again, it's the better defense getting points. That's something I like to look for as well. That is the Jets. And the Jets can still run the football, man. Say what you want to about their offense and how bad it's been, but they still can run the football. And they may be able to have an easier time doing that against a really bad Bengal defense. So I think you might see the Jets be able to actually have some possession in this game. The Jets have gone most of the season without even forcing a turnover as well. They had not forced a turnover at all until the London game against Denver. So the Jets they're also a little bit undervalued because of that, because their turnover differential is just insane right now because they just haven't had hardly any takeaways, and that's just some of that is luck. Like when a fumble hits the ground, it's 50-50 as far as which team recovers it, and you're telling me that the Jets have only recovered like one or two fumbles this year. That has to regress a little bit or progress back to some sort of mean as well. So I think that's part of the reason why I keep playing the Jets, but I'm doing it here mostly because of the situation. One other thing to be aware of is that the Jets are switching quarterbacks again because Justin Fields blows. So they're going back to Tyrod Taylor in this one, where Aaron Glenn is being mysterious about it. He's like, we know who our quarterback is, but I'm not going to tell you because we want the Bengals to not know who to prepare for. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Tyrod. He hasn't been that great this year, but he is still a veteran. I don't think he's that much of a downgrade, if any, from Justin Fields. I mean, I don't think that affects the line that much. It's at least a shakeup where, there's less game film on what the Jets are going to try to do with Tyrod Taylor. He's played a little bit this year. He is the more experienced of the two quarterbacks, at least. He's a veteran who's been around for a while. So, yeah, I'm not concerned with that. I think that'll be fine. We'll go with the Jets in that one, man. And again, it might actually spark the Jets a little bit because when things aren't working and they're not working offensively, one thing that you can do is just shake something up on offense, switch quarterbacks, and then maybe that'll spark the team a little bit. So we're taking the Jets. And then the other game we're going to be on is the Baltimore Ravens -2.5. And we have to be aware of what's going on with the quarterback situation in this one, too. This line has been all over the place, dude. It was going to be 6.5 or 7 when it looked like Lamar Jackson was coming back. He's not going to be back in this game. They're giving him another week. It seemed like he was going to be back after the bye. He's not. So the line, I think we're getting a lot of value on the Ravens in this one, man. You basically just need them to win the game here. They're at 2.5. Might go up to 3. Maybe you could start looking at money line or something like that. I would probably still lay the 3, to be honest, but I think you would probably still get the 2.5. I think it is still probably out there. Maybe 2.5 -115 or so. I think that's still okay. 53% of the tickets, 59% of the cash on the Ravens. So the money is coming in on the Ravens. And I know you're going to be saying, well, you're just asking Baltimore to win the game, but how could they do that when they've scored 13 total points over their last 2 games? They've been just non-existent without Lamar Jackson. I know, but this is still the Baltimore Ravens, dude. They came into the season one of the best teams in football, and I still don't think they're that bad. They faced a really difficult schedule, dude. They just happen to have lost all of their big games. They lost to Buffalo in the first week, although you remember they were winning that game by 15 with 4 minutes left, and just an inexplicable loss there, really. But they had that game. They easily could have won that game. They lost a Monday night game to a really good Detroit team. They lost on the road to Kansas City, who we know is a good team, and that was the game Lamar Jackson went down. And then that was it. And then since then, they've been bad without Lamar Jackson. They got killed by Houston. I know that doesn't look that good, but as I pointed out, Houston is at least better than their record would indicate. And then they lost to the Rams. The Rams are a good team, too. So the Ravens have faced a very difficult schedule so far. They're playing the Bears here in this one, and I think the Bears are overrated as well. The other thing that I was alluding to with the quarterback situation here is it's not going to be Cooper Rush for the Ravens now. It is going to be Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley is coming back here, man. Snoop Dogg is coming back, man. I think that's a good thing, man, because Cooper Rush hasn't been getting it done for the Ravens, so they're going to switch something up here. Looked like it was going to be Lamar coming back. It's not, but Tyler Huntley, he knows this Baltimore system, dude. They picked him up off the scrap heap because he was on Miami earlier this year, and I think Miami just cut him. Or actually, I think he was on Cleveland. I don't know. He's been all over the place. I think he was on Cleveland and Miami this year, actually. I think he's been on Miami in the past. But remember, he was on the Ravens within the last few years. He was on the Ravens for multiple seasons, and he did play for the Ravens. Like, he played a bunch of games for the Ravens when Lamar Jackson was hurt before. So Huntley is a guy who knows the system, dude. He played under Harbaugh, played with this team. So I think that's a good move because you're getting a quarterback. There's not going to be like a huge chemistry issue here because Huntley knows the system. He's been there before. He started a bunch of games for them before. So I actually like this move. I think that's going to spark the offense a little bit. I think you're going to see the Ravens actually be able to do something this time and score some points here. You're getting a team that is still one of the better teams in the league, and you're getting them at this really cheap price, which I also like. And, of course, they're coming out of a bye. And they went into the bye on the worst possible note, dude. They went into the bye on a 4-game losing streak, losing their quarterback, only scoring 13 points over their last 2 games. That's the best time to have a bye, pretty much, man, because you know they're going to be using that bye to fix a whole bunch of shit. So I think that bye is going to be a very helpful bye to them. They're going to come out with a lot of focus. They don't have anything to focus on next. Miami, who cares? Even though I know it's on a Thursday night, but come on. They're not going to look ahead to Miami. They can't afford to overlook anybody right now because they're 1-5. They could still potentially win the division. I actually think that they might. I think they still might be a favorite to win the division, actually, which is crazy. After that bye, I think they're going to come out with a lot of focus, man. Harbaugh has been drilling them, and actually I saw an article. Harbaugh took all of their games away from them, man. He took away video games, cornhole, whatever the hell else they had going on in the locker room. He took it all away. So you know this is getting real serious. You know this team is going to show up focused, man. He's taken all the distractions away. I like that a lot. I think you're going to get a really focused Baltimore team here. I was potentially going to give them out minus the 6.5 or 7 with Lamar back, even though that would be like a reverse injured player spot. But this might actually be better because with Huntley in there, you're actually getting a way, way better number here. So it almost remains like almost an injured player spot. It's a spot where there's a shakeup going on. And I think the Bears are overrated, dude. I mean, people are going to see the Bears are 4-2 and the Ravens are 1-5. And who's going to want to actually lay points with the Ravens? Like, how could you possibly have a team that's 1-5 favored against a team that's 4-2? Well, the odds makers, again, they're telling you the Ravens are the better team. And if Lamar was back, they'd be the significantly better team. Well, they're telling you, yeah, that the Ravens are the better team, actually. Yeah, my mistake. Yeah. Because home field is probably about 2 points. But they're telling you that with Lamar, they're like the way better team, is almost a touchdown favorite. But even so, they're telling you they're still the better team, even with Tyler Huntley in there. The Bears, I mean, they're on a misleading 4-game win streak, man. There's nothing else I can really say about that. They caught Dallas in a really bad spot when they beat Dallas. I forget exactly what it was, but I think it was a sandwich spot. I think Dallas had the Green Bay game coming up after that or something like that. I don't know. It was a bad spot for Dallas. Dallas has a really bad defense. I know the Ravens' defense hasn't been that good this year, but they're better than Dallas. The Bears actually got completely outgained by the Raiders in that game against the Raiders, and they somehow got away with a win in that game. I don't even know how. They blocked a field goal at the end of the game. They had no business winning that game against the Raiders. Then they went into a bye. They came out and they had a big Monday night game, big revenge game for Caleb Williams against Jaden Daniels. They beat Washington. That was a spot where I leaned to Chicago in that one. I thought it was a good spot for Chicago to actually get the cover in that one. And then what did they do last week? They beat New Orleans. Who cares? I know it was a bad spot. I know I gave out New Orleans plus the points in that one. I know New Orleans didn't get there for us in that one. But Caleb Williams was awful in that game. He had 172 yards. I mean, I don't think Williams is that good, man. So going to Baltimore here, yeah, I'm not so sure that Chicago's actually going to be able to handle it. I don't think they're as good as their record looks. Again, I think John Harbaugh. My mistake. I keep calling him Jim. I think Jim is with the Chargers. John Harbaugh, he's still a good coach, man. He's going to have something. He's going to draw up something to try to beat Caleb Williams here, man. Like, he can draw things up to beat these young quarterbacks. So we have the more experienced quarterback on the side of the Ravens here. And you know me, I'm not a Caleb Williams fan. I don't think he's good. I don't think the Bears are as good as they look right now. Enough said. Baltimore, minus the 2.5. I think there's value there. It's a weird spot, but that's what we're going to do. That's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I appreciate it. One more time, the plays. Jets plus 6.5. I know you love these plays. Jets plus 6.5 and Ravens minus 2.5. Adding those on to the win that we had on the Chargers minus 3 on Thursday night. That's going to do it for now. I'll be back in the morning because we're going to have, I'm assuming the World Series is not in action because they're going to be traveling out to LA. So we're going to have just NBA and NHL, I think, to talk about in the morning tomorrow. But I will be back to do that. I think it'll be a short NHL board and maybe a little bit of a bigger NBA board. It might be a small board, though, because the NFL football owns the day. So I'll be back then. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like and subscribe to the channel here, man. It helps me out. Let's boost these numbers. Let's get it going. Give me, some positive feedback, positive replies. Give me positive reviews on the audio platforms on Spotify and Apple. That helps me out as well. Listening over there helps me out as well. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube, so you can check that out as well. And patreon.com/learntotoad, and there's access to a Spotify feed there with the Uke stuff and Uke requests at the highest level. That's going to do it for now. Until tomorrow morning, guys. Peace.